Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadetamastu ma vidvishavahai. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidyayam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Graditam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim
Ashtadashaadhyayinim Ambattvamanusantatami Bhagavad-gite bhavadveshini
Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha
Sunvanti divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopaniषदैः Gayanti yam samagaha Dhyanavasthita-tadgatena manasa Pashyanti yam yoginah Yasyantam na vidussurasuraganah Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha.
So we saw yesterday the most famous verse of the Geeta, and that is karmani yogasthah. So the Lord said that may your focus be on the action, because that is a privilege that we have to act consciously, to make choices. May we not insist on the result, because we have no control over the result. And may the result alone not be the motive of action, because the main purpose of action is purity of the mind. And so don't get attached to inaction also. A lot of people think spirituality will make us inactive, especially if we stop focusing on the result. We will not have the motivation to act. We may slip into inaction. So now the 48th verse gives us one solution for that, if we think in that way. Yogasthah kuru karmani
Yogasthah kuru karmani
Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya
Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya
Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva
Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva
Samatvam yoga uchyate.
Samatvam yoga uchyate.
Vinoba Bhave says that this shloka is Chatursutri of Karma Yoga. In this one shloka there are 4 points. Each one is a sutra for Karma Yoga. First point is yogasthah kuru karmani. Established in yoga, do your action. Simple translation. What does that mean? It has 2 meanings. One is holding on to a higher ideal, do your action. So holding on to a higher ideal helps me to get out of selfishness. That ideal inspires me. And so the second meaning of it is that established in selflessness, act. Yogasthah kuru karmani. Then Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Give up all the attachments. Give up the attachments and act. established in an ideal, in selflessness act, giving up attachments. Second point. Third point, when the result comes, siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. In success and failure, siddhi and asiddhi, be equanimous. Samatvam yoga uchyate. This equanimity is called as yoga. So in this, there are these 4 points. And in that, this last quarter is very important. One can remember that actually. Samatvam yoga uchyate. That equanimity of the mind, balance of the mind is yoga. One of the beautiful definitions. Actually in the Geeta there are so many nice definitions of the word yoga. Yoga means to unite. In 6th chapter the definition of yoga is dukkha samyoga viyogam, which means in Gurudev's language he would say that it is divorce from your wedlock to sorrow. You are wedded to sorrow. You are divorced from that. Meaning the mind is united right now with the wrong thing, so it is miserable. Detachment from that and then attaching to the real source of happiness. That is called yoga. Dukkha samyoga viyogam. That is called yoga. So like that there are different definitions. Yoga karmasu kaushalam will come further now. That yoga is dexterity in action. After 2 verses that will come. So many nice definitions of yoga. Nowhere it is said that if you stand upside down, that is called yoga. No. That may be Raj Yoga. That is one path. And Shirshasana is one asana necessary. But actually yoga means to unite. And there is nothing called yoga. There is no yoga. There is yoga. You may origin into A. Rama, yoga, Chinmaya. It is not Chinmaya, Chinmaya mission. Chinmaya mission. So we add one A. So yoga, samatvam yoga uchyate. So what are these 4 points? Now going into the detail. Yogasthah kuru karmani. Established in an ideal, do the work. One is the mundane work, mundane activity that we do. So a lot of people think that karma yoga is some special action that I do. It is not a special action. It is the attitude behind the action, even ordinary action. So when I do any action, even if it is getting up, getting ready, taking bath, eating food, going for exercise, or it can be my office work, or it can be my work at home, it can be a social obligation, whatever I do, established in one ideal, you act. Now what is that ideal? So there are 3 ways of action actually. One is called instigation. That I act because somebody instigates me to act. Like Kaikeyi was instigated by mantra. So somebody instigates me to do something. Tamasic action. Influenced, deluded, I get influenced and then do something rajasic. Disturb somebody. So a lot of these strikes and all this which happens, instigation. In politics, though enough, it runs only on instigation. Continuously, somebody or the other keeps instigating. So one is to get instigated. Like Shakuni kept on instigating Duryodhana. Never allowed him to be secure in life. You know the hidden agenda of Shakuni? Hidden agenda of Shakuni is to destroy the Kauravas. It is not to destroy the Pandavas. Destroy the Kauravas. Why? Because how did Bhishma come and ask the hand of my sister for this blind king? So the Gandhari knew always that this Shakuni is always poisoning the mind of this Dhritarashtra, not allowing him to be secure at all. So she would say also, why are you here? You go to Gandhar, you manage that place, now why are you sitting here? But he was there, instigated Duryodhan, instigated Dhritarashtra, ultimately brought the war and ultimately brought down the downfall of the Kauravas. See what is that possessiveness, attachment. In Mahabharata it is very interesting. Extreme picture is painted, but it is a fact that whoever is attached to whichever person becomes responsible for the destruction of that person only. Dhritarashtra is attached to Duryodhan, becomes the cause of destruction of Duryodhan. Shakuni is attached to Gandhari, becomes the cause of the misery of Gandhari only. Destroyed all the children of Gandhari. In that he killed himself also. Shakuni. See that power of attachment, how it works. Dronacharya is attached to Ashwathama. That only became the cause of his own death also. It is very strange. It paints an extreme picture that the attachment will lead to death of your beloved or yourself. So anyway, the idea is this, that when somebody is instigated, that is one way to act. Second is somebody is motivated to act. So that motivation is some external reward or result. So I am motivated because I will get a promotion, I will get some perk, I will get some prize, I will get some reward, something, name, fame, recognition. So that is motivation. And then third comes inspiration. So that inspiration is from within. Motivation, the source can be outside, it can be one's own growth. But inspiration is outside, and inspiration is where one learns to hold on to something beyond oneself, beyond one's own limited individuality, limited thinking, something which will manifest the dormant potential in me, and it's a high ideal. Like yesterday Gurudev spoke about it. Don't just keep an ordinary goal. Keep a goal which is very high, which you cannot reach. Why? Because it continuously inspires. That is where I have to reach. And he did not just say that, he gave us like that goals only. Our very motto of Chinmaya mission is what? Maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time. And we are experts in the reverse. Maximum sorrow to maximum people in minimum possible time. Now maximum happiness, first of all to give. How to give? Can I keep fulfilling desires of everybody? That's what people think maximum happiness will give. No. Only by knowledge that your nature is Ananda Swarup. To how many people? Few people? Hundreds, thousands, lakhs? No. Maximum people. How many people even know Vedanta? Very few people know. So our goal is to continuously strive to reach out and keep on sharing this knowledge with as many new people as possible and bring this to their lives. At least they become aware. So then we have so many programs, camps, and numbers are also, one tries that. Now we have a camp in October, youth camp, I Transform. 1,000 people will come for that. 1,000 youngsters will come for that. So we keep doing that, camps like that. Yajnas, talks, programs. Maximum happiness for maximum people. For how much time? For one time, 2 times? No. Maximum time. So it is like a target which you will never reach. But what do? Can we say that we have reached maximum people for maximum number, maximum time? No. Whatever you do will be less only. That keeps us humble also. Otherwise we become arrogant. Yay, we achieved the goal. Whatever you achieve is still less. Keeping that target, keeping that inspiring ideal in mind, that you have to bring maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time. So even if you do a camp for 1,000 people, 5,000 people, 15,000 people came, attended one event and went. Still, compared to that vision, it is nothing. So the vision only will be so high that it keeps me inspired. So that inspiration, people who work for the freedom of the country, inspired. They achieved the goal. Abdul Kalam works for empowering the youth, works to empower the country in the field of science, inspired by that idea. So whoever is inspired, that inspiration is enough. Motivation one doesn't require. Instigation one doesn't require. I should add actually one more, because nowadays that has started. Tension. Only if you are tense, then you start acting. And people say also, stress is required, tension is required, without that we can't perform. Most base level. Tension, instigation, motivation, inspiration. Inspiration is sattvic level. Where that ideal is constantly inspiring me, it occupies my mind. What can that ideal be? Sometimes it can be an external ideal, like I serve my country. In the same country I live and I can be absolutely pessimistic, nothing is happening, dollar ka bhav itna bad gaya, this, that, all kinds of corruption happening, nothing can be done. Or the same country I can live with inspiration that in my capacity what is there I will start doing. Start at least becoming aware what is happening in the country. What are the forces which are working for, who are the forces which are working against. The media is a big eyewash. Whatever the media says one can't believe. One has to inquire by oneself and come to that conclusion ki what is the truth. And so much of, what do you say, lobbying and hidden agenda is there. So if I am inspired that I want to contribute to the country, then I do. If I say that I am interested in the field of education and I want to contribute to that, then I start doing that. Medicine or art or literature, whichever field. So what inspires me in line with my temperament, swadharma, I have to find that, and in that I have to find that inspiring ideal whereby I can surrender my small little ego at the altar of that ego, or at the altar of the ideal. So very nice line Guruji says, Swami Tejomahananji, he says that an altar, A-L-T-A-R, an altar in life alters your life, A-L-T-E-R. One has to just find one altar. What is that altar? Mahatma Gandhi found that altar. At the altar of the country and at the altar of in his personal life, the spiritual, his commitment and dedication to ahimsa and satyagraha. He lived those three principles, what is written in our Shastra, which are the three foundations of Sanatana Dharma, Satyam, Ahimsa and Brahmacharya. He lived these three. Now that was inspiring to him and he lived his life dedicated to that. So what is my life dedicated to? If not my whole life, at least this particular phase in my life, what is it dedicated to? It could be harmony of my family. It could be the vision of my company. It could be anything. It could be my own spiritual growth. The best ideal is moksha. There is no greater ideal than moksha. Then whatever I do falls into that. If I eat also, I eat because I have to live in self-control. Because the mind and intellect must be mastered. Then only I can attain moksha. Moksha is that highest ideal, which will continuously inspire me. No matter what I do, it has to be in line with that ideal. And there is nothing selfish about moksha, please remember. A lot of people say, how can that be selfless ideal? You are seeking your own liberation. There is nothing called your own liberation. There is only liberation, because freedom from your own is minus, is called moksha. So when a person strives for that, every moment, I sleep as a seeker, I eat as a seeker, I meet with people as a seeker, I talk as a seeker, I respond as a seeker. I feel like getting angry at somebody and giving them one. But then as a seeker it is not appropriate, so I can restrain myself. So if I change my identity that I am a seeker, then that becomes my ideal, that my ideal is moksha. A devotee says that my ideal is to become one with Bhagavan. So will Bhagavan like this? Keep thinking that. So it could be any ideal, but one has to find an ideal in life. The moment one finds an ideal, untapped potential will start manifesting. Unbelievable things will start happening. Because one doesn't work anymore out of tension or instigation or motivation. One works out of spontaneous inspiration for that goal, for that ideal. Whether people appreciate me, I don't care. Whether people follow me, I don't care. If people support me also, I don't care. They don't support me also, I don't care. Because the ideal itself is so inspiring. Like Gurudev found the ideal that he wanted to bring Vedanta to the masses. He said, I have benefited so much from it and my countrymen are suffering just because they don't know this man-making knowledge is there in the scriptures and how they can face life with such a strength. And alone he started, and how much opposition came to him also. Hanumanji was inspired by the ideal of seva, that I am serving Lord Ram. Till he was serving Sugriv, nothing happened to him. The moment he shifted his altar and Ram became his altar, such a mighty personality. So that way, what is the altar at which I have surrendered my ego? I have to find that. What is that ideal which continuously inspires me? Sometimes moksha becomes a very far-reaching ideal. So I have to break it up. Moksha is my ultimate ideal. For that, maybe Karma Yoga in this particular field is the smaller step towards it. And then bhakti, maybe some japa, some puja, by which the mind inculcates bhakti. And the ideal of bhakti inspires me, ideal of seva inspires me, ideal of knowledge inspires me. Any ideal, but I have to find that ideal. So one is that yogasthah kuru karmani, established in that ideal. And what is the second part of this? That when I am established in that ideal must be such a selfless ideal that my ego pressure reduces. Karma becomes karma yoga only when ego pressure reduces. Even if I achieve great things, I know that it has happened by grace of the Lord. I am humble, I am able to surrender, I don't have vanity. That is called karma yoga. So one is this aspect. Yogasthah kuru karmani. Established in an ideal, one should act. Action plus ideal is equal to work. Otherwise it is only labor. Mere action is labor. Yesterday we saw Gurudev spoke in his talk that only if I do action, it is mechanical. Very soon the mind makes it boring, dull. Then we find external sources of recreation. That my work is boring to me, so I want some other method of relaxation, recreation. So 5 days I slog like a donkey, 2 other days I become another party animal. Then there is no joy. And somebody asked Gurudev that Swamiji, you are working so hard, your heart is working so less, beating so, ejection fraction is so less, 16%, and you are working so hard, when do you rest? Because he used to get up every day by 3:30 or so. Whatever time he sleeps, 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12 o'clock, but 3:30 is up and gets ready, and then 4 o'clock starts writing the letter. 4:30 started writing the letter, goes on till 5:30, 6, drinks the tea, goes to the morning class, 6:30 the morning class. And how he lived? So they asked him that, Swamiji, when do you rest? And what a line he said. He said, in work I rest. I rest in work. Now powerful line. Because the person who is working selflessly has no ego pressure. Agitation is not there, anxiety is not there, that I have to gain this, without this what will happen? That yesterday we saw that work and worth connection is not there. Out of joy one is working. Whether that result comes, doesn't come, there is no question of dependency on that result for one's own self-esteem. Mind is silent inside. That is called karma yoga. Silence inside, dynamism outside. That is called karma yoga. Karma yoga has so many beautiful factors. Yesterday we saw one aspect. Today is the second one. But karma yoga happens when there is silence inside and tremendous dynamism outside. Karma yoga is not going specially and doing some seva. That is one expression, small expression. That also can be called karma yoga. If I go and serve the poor and feed the hungry and teach the illiterate, that also is a seva, no doubt. But what is the crux of karma yoga? Stillness inside. That can my mind be free from selfishness. See, in Vedanta we say there are 6 impurities of the mind, 6 vikaras of the mind. In that the first one is kama. Kama there means selfishness. Now the greater that proportion of karma, all other impurities will be there. They will also be in greater proportion. So if karma is there, then krodha has to be there. So if karma is not fulfilled, krodha will happen. If karma is fulfilled, lobha will happen. When karma is there in our mind, we can't see things clearly. So moha is already there. Because I think that happiness belongs there. So karma can lead to krodha, can lead to moha, and it all lobha, and then already it leads to moha. And when that karma becomes obsessive, then it becomes mada, intoxication. One is intoxicated by beauty, one is intoxicated by wealth, one is intoxicated by power, achievement. So many types of intoxications are there. All because of desire. And when that karma is there, my karma is not getting fulfilled, somebody else's karma is getting fulfilled, jealousy, matsarya will happen. That selfishness and selfish desire is the root cause of all the agitations of the mind. And people want to meditate. Do what? Dhyan. करो ध्यान 10 मिनट 15 मिनट भी नहीं होगा, because the depth is full of selfishness, that it will not allow only the mind to settle down. I want to do Ram, and the mind says calm. How it will work? It will not work only. That's why Gurudev always said meditation is the highest vocation in life. You have to do all preparation, then sit for meditation. Now here though we want to do meditation first. Straight away people come to meditation camp, 5 days. Some people go for 10 days camp, मौन साधना. Selfishness तो निकाली नहीं और मौन कर लिया चालू. How the mind will become? You can by willpower force keep it quiet. What after that? Where is the next evolution? What is that selfless idea that I am holding on to? I need something to hold on to so that I will drop my selfishness. Only at the altar of only at the altar of love can this happen. A mother will do anything for the sake of the child. There is no ego coming in between. Selflessness, when it has to happen, only at the altar of love. Same mother will not do anything for another person's child. She may do some things, but not to that extent. Why? Because it is not my child. So that identification is not there. So when a person does this, identifies what is that ideal whereby I can drop my selfishness, which inspires me to be selfless. Genuinely, when somebody is inspired by the welfare of other people, that is called purity of mind. Where I can put others first, where that question does not arise that how long should I serve other people? How long should I put myself second priority and other people first priority? That question only will not arise. Because in selflessness there is so much of security. I feel so happy just being selfless. I don't have to, what do we say? Think, I'm not obsessed with myself. Does not mean that one does not take care of oneself. One takes care of oneself, but one knows that selfishness is the root cause of my sorrow and agitation. Not root cause, but one of the main causes. Root cause is ignorance. But selfishness is equal to sorrow. That equation has to get into our head. And selflessness is equal to happiness and purity of mind. If that equation is formed in the mind, then I will genuinely be selfless. I don't bother people are selfish or selfless to me. Today our selflessness depends so much on outside factors. Everybody is selfish, Swamiji. How can you live in selfless world like that? Selfish world, being selfless, you will be treated like a doormat. Nobody will treat you like a doormat. Being selfless is not equal to being dumb. It is not that selfless people are dumb people. Selfless people are more smart. Not in the cunning way of the world, smart. But they are really smart and alert. Why? Because they are not trapped in their own ego. They can watch, they can understand very clearly from where the opposite person is coming. Because one has been there, one knows that this is where it is. And voluntarily one has given that up because one knows that that is the cause of the pain and sorrow. Drop it. So that way, when selflessness I cultivate in my mind, with that right understanding that why should I be selfless? Then I will find an inspiring ideal. In fact, I don't even have to find a separate inspiring ideal. Suppose we start going home and start scratching our key, which is that inspiring ideal now? Where will I find it? Wherever I am, that same seva I can do just with a shift of attitude. That's what Bhagavan is telling Arjuna. That you can fight this war with selflessness. You don't have to find some new special ideal. If I am taking care of my son, I can do that with that selfish expectation that it is my son and my son has to be the best and I am taking care of the son. Nobody has brought up the son like this. That is ego pressure. Or selflessly one can bring up that, I can do my best and give such a nice environment to this individual who has come into this world that the potential will manifest in that person. Tomorrow that person can become great to serve the country. I don't want anything. That's how people have trained their children. How Jijabai brought up Shivaji. How Vivekananda's mother brought him up. Absolute selflessness. Nothing for oneself. Did I tell you that Vivekananda's sister had committed suicide? You don't know? Vivekananda had two sisters. One sister committed suicide because there was no food in the house to eat. They came down to that level of poverty. And they were from an aristocratic family. But the family came under debts after the father died. Debts were there before he died, but then father died. And Vivekananda had just finished his study or something. And he did not have a job, nothing, and how the family will survive. And he was pulled. On one side spiritual path, one side this materialistic things he has to do. Now what to do? And he was torn apart. So he went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and said, please ask Mother Kali to bless my family with some wealth. Then I can focus on this. He said, I don't ask Mother Kali for these small things. Actually, he didn't ask for his cancer cure also to Mother Kali. So it was not that he didn't want to oblige Vivekananda. Even for his own cancer, he said, I don't ask Mother Kali for these small things. So he said, but I can arrange a meeting. You ask whatever you want. So he arranged one appointed Tuesday and this darshan is going to get now. Vivekananda goes there. All prepared, that I have to ask for wealth, I have to ask for wealth, then I will be able to focus. All prepared like a school student. And there Mother Kali gives him darshan. And that darshan he is so absorbed and stunned that he forgets what he had to ask. And he asks, please give me deepest of devotion for your feet. And please bless me with highest of knowledge. Then he comes back saying, what did I do? What did I ask for? He again goes back to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Again says, can you please do? And look at the compassion of Ramakrishna also. 3 times he does that. 3 times Mother Kali gives darshan to Vivekananda. And all the 3 times he asks the same thing. Then he says, what if a mother or a sister has to suffer? Nothing is achieved without sacrifice. What a statement. And after that, 8 years he suffered. 8 years he went around this country, nobody bothered about him. He was so young. Unfortunately, in this land which has produced such great masters, there is such a stupid idea that people have that spirituality is a post-retirement plan. That if you become spiritual at a young age, that means something is wrong with you. So people didn't hear him only. So you read his letters, he writes in one of the letters, in Letters of Vivekananda, he writes there that in India boys are nobody. They will not even care to listen to your opinion. And even if they listen to you, they will dismiss it as some immature person talking, that you have not seen enough life. 8 years. Imagine your sister has committed suicide because money was not there. And you decided to dedicate your life for the sake of the country. And in that country, nobody bothered about you. What will be our attitude? To hell with this country. what an ideal he had committed himself to, what an inspiration in his life, he continued. And then he sat down quietly at that rock, Kanyakumari, that rock. And India is in front of him and that whole vision he gets. And then he goes there to the World Parliament of Religion and speaks there. And what is that date? वो मैंने बोला था पहले. That's why. Not 18 September, 11 September, 1893. 11 September he spoke there. And imagine that individual. 1893 he spoke, and 1902 he passed away. Not because he had any disease or anything. He voluntarily left the body. Was khatam abhi, enough now. 9 years time he did what he had to do. Today Ramakrishna Mission is a global organization. More than 100 years old. And this year we are celebrating what? 150th year of Vivekananda. So if you see the history and you analyze people, these Americans, they did the research. They said which are the world's longest standing institutions. And they came upon two. One is the spiritual organizations and other is the army. These two. Army. Army also people commit selflessly to the cause. Even today there are so many people who send their children, especially in the north it is a routine tradition. Nobody bothers about it much here in the west and the south. But in the north, they are so proud that my son is in the army. Because they are committed to that ideal of selflessness, service to the country. So one ideal one has to find. So one is one can find that wherever. Other is where one is, that itself one can do properly. So people like Vivekananda ji were able to take that step where for the sake of the country one family got sacrificed. But no bitterness in his mind. So I can find my ideal where I am, that I am serving my child with that feeling, that let my child be a great leader for the country. How many people bring up children like that? Everybody brings up the children saying you have to become a big doctor, you have to become a big engineer, you have to become one big leader, one big businessman, one big CEO. Who says that you have to be a great contributor to the country? You have to be a great patriot, a deshbhakt. You have to do that. And if we don't do that now, this country will only go from bad to worse. We cannot complain also after that. Many times I have thought about that. Suppose you say that, we say that politicians are all responsible now for whatever is happening in this country. Now imagine, suppose there is a parliament happening and one bomb falls there and all of them die. Who will replace them? Are there enough people who we have who will replace them? Not just ordinary people, I am saying. People of quality and substance which we want, who should replace them? No? Where are those people? How many of our youngsters are ready to get into politics? Suppose our son, one of your sons wants to get into politics, will you allow? No. That's the bottom line. So unless we don't change that attitude, unless we don't bring selflessness right from childhood, and I am telling you, those who bring selflessness into the minds of children right from childhood, their children will become great achievers. Don't ever think that they will not become great achievers. Don't ever think that you have to be selfish in today's world, then only you can succeed. No. You teach them ambition, you teach them competition, you teach them how to handle all that, you can make them only more and more insecure. But when this selflessness is pushed into them, they understand, they see us living selflessly. They will see what it is to be selfless, where you can be successful yet you can be happy also. Yes, there is a struggle, but where there is no struggle? In achieving selfish goals, is it free of struggle? There also struggle is there. Here also struggle will be there. Maybe here more struggle also is there, because majority will live selfishly. But if I am inspired, that's the power of inspiration. Even today there are some leaders who go on inspired, keeping the country in the mind, not keeping my own state, my own party, my own this, my own that. Think country, don't think party, don't think state. That is called selflessness. So wherever I am, there I can shift the attitude. I can start being selfless there. Yogasthah kuru karmani. Sangam tyakva dhananjaya. Give up attachment. Now attachment to what? Different levels of attachment. Attachment to the result. It is not saying give up the result. Nor is it saying stop being inspired by the result. All it is saying is that insistence that this result only should come, then only I will be happy, and this should come in this way at this time only. That has to go. Because that is not in my control. How will I do? Yesterday we saw that. So one is the attachment to result. One should drop that attachment to result. Earlier I think we must have seen that two words, expect and accept. You expect a result, but work with accepting the result. One cannot work merely expecting the result, then there will be attachment to it. So I should be able to accept the result as it comes, that in his intelligence he knows what is the best, accept. So one is attachment to result should go. Second, attachment to the action only should go. That in this way only the action has to be done. In some cases that is necessary to do action in a specific way, but in many cases we can be open. There are many other ways to do the same thing. But we are stuck to one way only. But only this way. In fact, modern life is such that many new ways keep coming. But one is not open sometimes. I am stuck to that old way of doing things still, continually. So attachment to result, attachment to action, attachment to the need of doing action. I can't sit quietly. I have to do something all the time. That also is an attachment. Why can't I sit quietly? At least sometime I can, I should. How much will I be restless? What will I ever gain by so much of restlessness? Any amount of action I do, the result is only going to be temporary. And my demand is that permanent happiness. So in spirituality we say that permanent happiness is not attained by action, it is attained by right tuning of the mind. And the purpose of action is that tuning of the mind. So once the mind is tuned, you can sit quietly. I am not saying one has to sit quietly whole day, but look at our restlessness, especially in today's times. Are we having that space and time to be with ourselves? If nothing is there to do, what will I do? Take up the phone, start. Call up somebody, start browsing. Something, escape. Action becomes a means of escape there. Rather than tuning the mind and making me understand my own self, action only becomes a means of escape. All the time I have to do something, do. If this human being is left, he will make his body and mind also in such a way that in the sleep also something keeps happening. Can't rest. There are some hyperactive people who are like that in any case. They can't sleep only. Because the mind keeps on working full time. Then you have to take sleeping pills and then go to sleep. There also they get, after some time, woken up. The sleeping pill is also not working. Body has got used to sleeping pill now. Find some other method. Take anesthesia. Better reduce that mental preoccupation with work, thinking, work, anxiety, thinking. My God, how much? Just drop, let go. One of the best ways to do that is think about death. Honestly, I am telling you, I do that. एक दिन हमको मर जाना है. इतना क्या preoccupation कि ये करना है, वो करना है, इतना करना है, उतना करना है. The moment you think about death, life falls into perspective. Please understand. What meaning does any other achievement have in front of death? Tell me. It has any meaning? That is the attitude. Because you have limited time, you have 20 things to achieve. But the question is, why do you want to achieve those 20 things? To become peaceful? No. Yeah, I know, it can go that way also, agree. But some people can get more started carrying a marzam. I to do that. Think about death straight away. क्या करना है? And is it not true that I am doing that, pushing myself to death straight away? How many young CEOs nowadays getting heart attack and they just collapse like that. Big dreams, all shattered to dust. Why? Because they didn't live in balance. Why they didn't live in balance? One is internal restlessness, second is yes, external pressure is there. Nobody denies that world outside also is so competitive, unreasonable, their timelines also are so horrible. They commit more than what they can deliver and then they suffer. Why? Because that's competition, insecurity. No, अगर मैं नहीं करूँगा तो कोई और कर लेगा, तो चलो मैं भी कर लूँगा. Terrible. But that's the way the world is going. So that is why I need to know this. Let me drop this. So 3 attachments we have seen. One is attachment to result. Second, attachment to a specific way of doing the action. Third, attachment to the very desire to act, the restlessness to act. And the last one is the subtlest one, is the attachment to doership. Doership. That I have to do the action. If this attachment also goes, a lot of peace will come into life. Lot of times I can ask myself, do I have to do? This is time management technique also. One technique of time management is this. You ask these 3 questions. Does this have to be done? Number 1. Does this have to be done now? Number 2. Does this have to be done by me? Number 3. Then you can prioritize and delegate also. Half the time we don't think only. It will come to urgency mode. The moment it comes to urgency mode, ये तो अभी करना ही है. अब किसी और को मैं दूंगा तो उसको ज़्यादा टाइम लगेगा तो मैं ही कर लूँगा, चलो. That typically that is what happens. With all of us it happens, including me. So one is control. Second is also that I don't prioritize, I don't sit quietly. That time which I require to do the planning, I think that is a waste of time to prioritize. उतने समय में तो और कितना ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. अरे but sit and prioritize. Then you will even understand half the things you don't need to do only. Give it to somebody, they can do. Delegate. Your mind will be more free. And that delegation doesn't happen because of attachment number 2, what we spoke. Because I have a specific way of doing it. And that man may not do it in that way. So then I want to do it in my way only. So then it gets stuck there. Sometimes it is that perfectionist attitude. Sometimes it is also that even that man may be able to do it better than me, but I don't trust. I am stuck with mine because I know that I will do it in this way. Even if it takes less time, more time, whatever, but I am sure of my way, but I don't know how that person will do. Sometimes it may be a fact also. It's not necessary that every time it is my insecurity only. It may be a fact that person may not be able to do. So what is important here is to understand that if the doership goes, that I have to do, that ego pressure becomes less. How the doership will go? Only when I know that I am only an instrument. Work happens through me, not by me. So these 4 attachments have to be dropped. Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Attachment to result, attachment to specific way of action, attachment to the restlessness to do, and doership. Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Bhagavan calls him Dhananjaya. Dhan means wealth. One who has won. He said, win over that wealth of contentment and peace, not agitation. Don't acquire more agitation by your work. Acquire more peace by your work. That is Dhananjaya. That is real wealth. And work can bring that wealth. In a person's life who actually applies Karma Yoga, that work will ensure that the person's mind becomes quieter and quieter and quieter. over a period of time when Karma Yoga is done, one becomes ready for contemplation, meaning sitting quietly in meditation, what we know as meditation. Restlessness will reduce, insistence on the result will reduce, acceptance of life will increase, much more peace and satisfaction, slowing down will happen. All this will happen. These are preparations necessary for meditation. And definitely because selflessness has increased, all those agitations go away. That krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, all that reduces. That is how we judge our progress. Okay, am I progressing in Karma Yoga or not? Third one says, siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. In the result, acceptance of the result, in the happiness and sorrow, success and failure, let me be equanimous. See, actually, there is no choice. Because result has already come. If I understand that, unnecessarily I am fretting and fuming. Ultimately, what I have to do? Accept it only. Why take time? But a lot of people think that if I don't react, that means I am vegetable. So I have to react. Otherwise people will think I am very abnormal. But ultimately I am going to come back to balance. No? Even if I am so thrilled, wow, what an achievement. After 10 days at least I have to come back to balance only. And nobody says that one should not enjoy the result. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva does not mean that don't be happy with the success and don't be sad with the failure. Retaining the mental balance, that enjoyment can be done. And that pinch also may happen when failure happens. But the person doesn't lose the mental equilibrium. Doesn't go aboard, doesn't go overboard and what success does to so many people, they break morality. That is what it means, that don't do that. Temporary, that momentary joy will be there and you may do anything, you may express that joy, that is natural, nobody said no about that. But that success gets into the head. Then that person becomes very arrogant. And that is most difficult to handle. That's why it is that we teach our children to aspire for success, but we do not teach them what to do with success after that. And nowadays what all happens, at such a young age they are getting so much of money, they don't know what to do with that. Even consumer items which are available are so cheap. So earlier days if one TV has to be bought or some fridge has to come, it will be like one big grand event in one's life. अरे हमारे घर में टीवी आ गया. अभी तो वो सब कुछ नहीं. एक दिन टीवी आ जाएगा. And suddenly after 1 month that TV will be replaced and some 52-inch smart TV will come up suddenly. It's very ordinary, that is all now. So how much will you buy, how much will you do all that? So then where does that money go? How to spend it? That stability of mind does not come. Then one starts going into drinks and drugs and starts any kind of things. Because the mind does not know how to handle that prosperity, that success, what to do now. That is what it means. Does not mean you should not enjoy. And in depression, again, for small little things people commit suicide. You see in the papers what all keeps coming. For a fight with the auto fellow, the fellow kills the other man. What is this? Just a fight? Kill the other fellow. For small little things. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva means that you don't lose the balance of the mind. Samatvam yoga uchyate. This equanimity of mind is yoga. Now this equanimity of the mind is not at the end of the action. Success of a karma yogi is this. Yesterday we saw that. Equanimity before the action, during the action and after the action. At all the 3 times. Then you are a karma yogi. So people think that karma yoga is very easy. Difficult. This way to do karma yoga is very difficult. Only way to do that is if there is some love which comes into our heart. If I love an ideal, if I love the Lord, that is the highest. That I do everything dedicated to Bhagavan. So more of that we will see tomorrow. पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम।